Ever notice how some people can make you feel wrong without ever raising their voice? You walk into a conversation feeling fine, and you walk out feeling heavy, like something shifted, like you lost ground, like you're replaying every word in your head, trying to figure out what just happened. Nothing obvious, nothing you could point to, but deep down you feel smaller. That's not imagination, that's manipulation, and it's everywhere. Because manipulators don't look like monsters. They don't announce themselves. They don't show up wearing a warning label that says, "I'm about to mess with your mind." They show up as friends, as partners, as family, as coworkers. They laugh, they apologize, they say the right things, and somehow you're the one who ends up feeling confused. But here's the truth nobody teaches you. Manipulation only works when you don't have boundaries. Boundaries are the one thing manipulators cannot stand. Not the kind you talk about, the kind you actually use. So today, here are 5 boundaries that make manipulators powerless. No yelling, no drama, no revenge, just clarity. Let's start. Number 1, stop defending your feelings. Manipulators love to turn your emotions into the problem, not their behavior, your reaction. You say you're hurt, they say, "Wow, you're really sensitive." You say that bothered you, they say it wasn't even that serious. You say you feel disrespected, they say you're overthinking. And suddenly, instead of talking about what they did, you're explaining why you're allowed to feel what you feel. That's the trick. Because if someone can convince you that your emotions are invalid, they can control you completely. You start doubting yourself before you ever doubt them. So this boundary is simple. Your feelings are not a debate. You don't argue, you don't over-explain, you don't try to convince them. You say, "This is how I feel," and you stop. No negotiation, no courtroom, just truth. Manipulators hate this because their power depends on you questioning yourself. When you stop doing that, they lose access. Number 2, let people be upset. Most people are terrified of disappointing others. They want to be liked. They want to keep the peace. So they say yes when they mean no. They apologize for having needs. They shrink to avoid conflict. Manipulators know this. That's why they get angry when you set limits. They pout. They go silent. They act wounded, not because they're truly hurt, but because it works. Because the moment you feel guilty, you backtrack, you fold, you give in, and suddenly their emotions control your decisions. So here's the boundary. Someone being upset does not mean you did something wrong. Sometimes people get mad because you stopped letting them use you. That's not your job to fix. Their anger is not your emergency. Let them feel what they feel. You don't have to rescue them from discomfort. Healthy people can handle boundaries. Manipulators punish you for having them. That difference tells you everything. Number 3, believe patterns, not promises. Manipulators are amazing with words. They know exactly what to say, exactly when to say it. They promise change. They swear they understand. They paint a future so beautiful you want to believe them. But words are free. Anyone can say anything. What matters is repetition, consistency, behavior. So this boundary is brutally grounding. Stop listening to promises. Start watching patterns. Someone says they'll change? Okay. Don't argue, don't celebrate, just observe. If it's real, you'll see it without begging. If it's manipulation, the apology will repeat, but the behavior will stay the same. Manipulators survive in the gap between what they say and what they do. When you close that gap, they panic, because pretty speeches stop working on someone who only trusts evidence. Number 4, match effort, don't chase. Manipulators create imbalance on purpose. They pull away to see if you'll run after them. They give less to see if you'll overgive. They stay inconsistent so you stay anxious, so you keep proving yourself. You double text, you reschedule, you overextend. You pour more into the relationship because they pour less. That's the trap. So this boundary flips everything. You stop chasing, you match. They show up halfway, you stop running the full race. They give surface-level effort, you stop giving your soul. This isn't being petty, it's being wise, because love is not supposed to feel like auditioning. Mutual effort is the minimum. Manipulators lose interest when you stop overgiving, because the dynamic only worked when you were desperate. Matching energy protects your peace. It stops you from pouring into empty cups. Number 5, exit conversations that go in circles. Have you ever been in a conversation that feels like quicksand? You explain your point, they twist it. You clarify, they twist again. You defend yourself, they move the goalpost. Hours pass and nothing is resolved. You're exhausted, confused, drained. That's not communication. That's a trap. Manipulators don't argue to understand. They argue to wear you down, to confuse you, to keep you engaged until you give up. So the boundary is powerful. When it starts looping, you leave. You don't announce it dramatically. You don't beg them to get it. You simply say, "This isn't going anywhere. We can talk later," and you walk away. Not in anger, in self-respect, because you don't need permission to exit something that's draining you. Manipulators hate this most of all, because their power lived in keeping you stuck. Once you leave, the stage disappears, and they're left talking to themselves. So, there they are, 5 boundaries that shut manipulation down instantly. Stop defending your emotions, let people be upset, trust actions over promises, match effort instead of chasing, exit conversations that spiral into nonsense. These boundaries aren't cruelty, they're clarity. You're not becoming cold, you're becoming whole. Because kindness doesn't mean letting people drain you. Love doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. Loyalty doesn't mean staying where you're harmed. The right people will respect these boundaries immediately. Only manipulators will fight them. And that tells you everything you need to know. So, start small, but start. Because the life on the other side of boundaries is peaceful, clear, and finally yours. And you deserve that.